Today, we're going to dive into something, well, kind of strange and fascinating in the art world. We're asking, why are some of the most cutting edge artists out there totally obsessed with the distant past?
I mean, think about it. The Renaissance, the Baroque, those periods ended centuries ago. So why are today's most famous, most talked about artists still looking back at them? It's a really good question, right? And the answer is, well, they actually tell us a whole lot about our own time.
Okay, look at this. This is Kehinde Wiley's take on a classic. You've got the original on one side, this huge icon of power from back in 1800, and then, bam, the 2005 version. So different. The question is, why do this? And here's another one, a classic Botticelli portrait totally recast for the 21st century. The face has changed, obviously, but you know that style instantly. You can feel it, right? There's something really powerful going on here.
And one more. A story that's centuries old, retold with a completely modern spin. So what's the deal? What connects all these artists? Well, it turns out they're all using the past kind of like a mirror. And our first artist, she shows us just how that mirror can reflect some pretty uncomfortable truths right back at us.
So let's start with Cindy Sherman, the self-portrait unmasked. All right, so this is Cindy Sherman, and her entire career has been this incredible, fascinating game of dress-up, of role-playing. She's always the one in front of the camera, but don't get it twisted. These aren't your typical self-portraits. Nope, she's creating characters. She's pulling from movies, from magazines, from ads. Basically, she's pulling back the curtain to show us the machinery behind all the images we see every single day. And the stuff she's digging into, it's deep. And yeah, it can be pretty unsettling. We're talking about huge ideas here. Identity, desire, and the way we literally construct who we are based on all the media we consume. You know, in our totally plugged in, always scrolling world, her work feels more on point than ever before. But what's so wild is how she does it. When she decided to tackle art history, get this, she was living in Rome, surrounded by all this amazing art, and she never went to the museums. Instead, she just studied the masterpieces from books, from reproductions, just like most of us would. And look at her work. She uses cheap costumes, really obvious makeup. She's not trying to trick you, just the opposite. She wants you to see how fake it all is, to see the construction behind these supposedly perfect, idealized images of women from history. So, what's the goal? The goal is to make us realize that a portrait is never just a portrait. It's a construction. It's an image that was built to serve some kind of purpose, social, political, maybe even erotic. And that's our first big answer to the question we started with. Okay, so Sherman uses the past to kind of pick apart the idea of identity. But for other artists, history isn't something you deconstruct, it's something you take back. For them, this whole conversation is about reclaiming power. And that brings us to the incredible work of Kehinde Wiley. You probably know his name. He painted President Barack Obama's official portrait. His whole mission, his entire artistic practice, is about taking that grand, heroic, almost over-the-top style of the old European masters and using it to portray young black and brown men and women. You know, the very people who were historically and systemically left out of those pictures, out of those fields of power.
And here's the key part. His subjects are wearing their own clothes. We're talking hoodies, Timberlands, bandanas. So you get this amazing clash, right? The old, inherited, powerful pose, and the new, lived reality of what they wear every day. That juxtaposition creates this electric conversation about history, race, and who gets to be seen as a hero.
Photographer Mark Abuzaid is on a similar wavelength. What he does is he finds modern immigrants living in Florence, the actual birthplace of the Renaissance, and he recasts them as the subjects of those world-famous paintings. He's literally putting new faces into this very old, very established story, and in doing so, he's totally updating it for the world we live in right now. And Abuzaid himself puts it perfectly. He said, we should be taking this past, taking this richness that has been left to us, and moving it forward toward the future. See, it's not about just copying the past. It's about making it live and breathe again, right now. All right, so we've got artists questioning identity, and we've got artists reclaiming power, but our third and final answer tonight might be the most provocative of all. What if the whole point is to blow up our ideas of what art even is? And for that, we have to talk about Jeff Koons. Yeah, Jeff Koons. He's famous, or maybe infamous, for doing exactly this. He takes these super ordinary, everyday objects, things you might even call kitsch or tacky, and he blows them up into these gigantic, shiny, perfectly crafted sculptures. He's basically messing with our whole concept of good taste and what we think has value. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got a classic, super ornate Baroque egg, and on the other, you've got the Koons version. Now, his has all that drama, that texture, that play of light that you'd expect from the Baroque. But let's be real, it also kind of looks like a giant foil-wrapped chocolate egg, right? He's using the language of high art to talk about pop culture. But here's where the real magic trick happens. You change the context. What happens when you take Koons's shiny, playful pop art and you drop it right in the middle of the most over-the-top historical palace on Earth, Versailles? Whoa. Suddenly, the whole game changes. Because that giant, shiny balloon dog doesn't just look different sitting there in the Hall of Mirrors. It actually changes how we see the Hall of Mirrors itself. It creates a brand new conversation between the old and the new, and it forces you to question the value and the meaning of both. So after all that, where does it leave us? We've looked at 3 different artists, 3 totally different ways of engaging with the past, but all of them are really answering that same big question we started with. So let's break it down. We have 3 big answers. 1, questioning identity, like Cindy Sherman does. 2, reclaiming power, which is what Wiley and Abu Zaid are all about. And 3, challenging value, with an artist like Jeff Koons. 3 different paths, all starting from the same place. What this all shows us is that for these artists, the Renaissance and the Baroque, they aren't just some dusty old chapters in an art history book. No way. It's more like a toolbox. It's a living language that they can use to say something important about our world, right here and right now. So these artists are proving that history is never really over. It's always happening. It's an unending conversation. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought, doesn't it? One day, our time, right now, is going to be the past. So what will the artists of the future have to say about us?